change my stream title.
What's up?
What's up, dude? How you doing, man?
Pretty good, pretty good.
All right, so I don't know what matchup you want to focus on, but which one are you thinking about doing today?
ZvT.
Okay, and what league are you currently in?
I'm in Diamond right now.
All right, sounds good.
So,
Trying
to get pictures, yeah.
Some Diamond ZvT. So I can do this, dude. So just first of all, let's get you and me to message each other. Okay.
I know how to get to you.
All right, sounds good, man. You're prepared, okay? I'm just following the motions here, and you're just one step ahead of them every time.
Yeah, I try to be. No reason delaying it.
All right, so if you had to kind of summarize it for yourself, what do you think you personally struggle with the most?
Probably defending the multi-prong.
Okay. And what kind of styles do you like to go for?
I just do a macro Lingbane.
Okay.
Into Muta, Ultralist, whatever. You know.
All right.
Whatever I feel like doing.
And
my win rate has been pretty good recently.
Nice.
I'm like 75% or something like that. I don't know.
That's pretty good. Do you use any? You don't have to do this, but just out of curiosity, do you use any camera hotkeys?
Yeah, I use all bases for camera hotkeys.
Oh shit! How about a rally point hotkey?
I don't have the rally point hotkey.
Okay. So.
But I hotkey them in the eggs.
Okay.
And as Zerg, I feel like you don't really need the rally point.
Because that's exactly what I was going to say, is I actually think if you're talking about dealing with multi-prong harass, if you're actually making units go into eggs before they spawn, it makes it harder to defend multi-prong.
Okay.
We'll talk about it more once we get into a game. Just go ahead and host whatever one you want for Watch with Others, and then I'll come in there with you and we'll get it going.
Okay, I'm on my second account because I play on this one more than my main because I don't like losing my main MMR.
Yeah, sure.
If that makes sense.
Is that you? Is that account too? Is you?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I got one where a bunch of my drones got roasted and I lost.
Okay, yeah, that happens to everybody.
I don't have too many replays right now. Maybe next time I'll have a couple more. But
sure.
I have one where I won with pretty good macro. Maybe you can see.
Yeah.
You know, how to make it better, and then I got one that I won with decent macro. Wasn't too good, but
all right.
So I guess we'll start with the drone roast.
Yeah, sure. And when you say multi-prong, are you pretty much just referring to like everything multi-prong, or are you just like?
Yeah, like anything. Battlecruiser Liberator drops. It's not when one thing happens because that's easy to defend, but you know when they're like, they drop your third and then run Hellions in, or you know just the multi-prong.
Yeah. Because there we go. With Terran, I would say Terran's actually the race where multi-prong is actually like the most important. So every time something happens with Terran, all right, really quick, just give me a lead and we can start it, and I'll tell you what I was about to say.
Oh, okay.
There we go. And then with Terran, the way Terran mindset always goes is they're always gonna, if it's not like a big fatty attack, whereas you can clearly see it's not their entire army, you can always expect there to be a second attack. So it's kind of a good idea against Terran to leave your units at different locations just before you even get hit at all, and it makes it easier when you scout what they're doing specifically to know where and what should be where basically. So if you see, oh, it's gonna be battlecruisers, you can obviously have your queens trying to zone out the BCs while you have opposite location of your base. So on the other side, you'd have most likely your ground army located there, because they're probably going to attack you the opposite side. No one usually attacks the same base with two armies. Yeah. So usually it should be the mindset going through your head all the time when you're playing against a Terran, because they always fuck you over that way.
Okay. Yeah, I've been watching the Bronze to GM stuff too.
Yeah.
And I started at bronze and just macroed my way all the way to diamond because I was already diamond when I started, but I started on this new one.
Yeah.
Just did it just to practice the macro, and it was pretty good. I think my macro is better than it was.
Yeah. I'm sure you're probably reading what this guy's saying in this game. I'm gonna pause it really fast. And you're probably getting distracted because you're reading what he's saying and he's just having a conversation with you. I know talking to you.
Oh yeah, really I messed up the build. Yeah, I usually pull it at 180, so it's perfect.
Okay, well that and also your larva actually capped there for a second, and you made your drone again at like 170 minerals.
Got you. Yeah, I wasn't paying it. I was just reading,
Exactly.
chatting with him. I think I did that a little bit at the beginning.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's why I don't want to beat you up on that because I do that shit as well. I'm like reading chat. I'm like, oh god, I fucked the build up.
Yeah, the larva's capped right now. This game was kind of rough. I think it was my first one today.
Yeah. A technique I've actually told a lot of people to do that I think it does honestly help because it's the mentality like I have or I developed when I was a pro gamer. It's you just slap the keyboard the whole time when you have nothing going on. You just SD like hatchery SD, hatchery SD, hatchery SD, and you just do it even no matter what. You just force yourself to memorize it and just do it all the time.
Oh, I do. I mean, I got like 400 APM right now. I'm just spamming. That's what you're talking about, right?
Yeah, yeah. Because well, that way
yeah, it shows you.
Well, yeah. Like the larva will never have an issue then because you're spinning it as you get it and stuff. But I'm gonna pause it really quick again one more time.
Pull too many drones.
Yeah. If you see a bunker in your main like this, I'm just gonna explain locations to you really fast. If you were to have seen a bunker where your overlord is your natural, that is gonna guaranteed be Marines. Maybe you get the off chance there's a weird Terran who's gonna go Marauder, which happens like 5% or less of the time. And like 95% or more, it's always Marines when it's outside at the front of your natural. If you ever see a bunker go into your main base like this, do not pull enough drones to kill the actual bunker. It's not important. You just want to pull enough drones.
Push the Marines back.
Well, there's no Marines with this. There should not be Marines with this.
Okay. Yeah,
so
I got you.
if it's on the high ground, it's not going to be Marine or Marauder. It's going to be Reaper. And if it's Reaper, it means it's going to be minimal barracks. Very likely it's going to be minimal barracks. Even if it wasn't minimal barracks, the bunker's not really an issue. The only issue is killing the SCV. So you can pull 2 drones if it's on the high ground and call it a day. Because if you kill the SCV, it's over. Like the bunker is going to have to get canceled. Because then your queens will spawn, your lings will be made, and if it's a Reaper all in, you just keep making lots of lings. If it's just like 1 Reaper pressure, you make like your standard 4 lings or 6 lings and you're done. And then you just go back to droning. So don't be so worried about a bunker on the high ground, especially if you see it right away, because you can kill the SCV and you're good to go.
Yeah, he was just talking about people cheesing, so I figured he was going to do something crazy.
No,
but
exactly.
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about it.
Yeah, people talking to you early game is super distracting. I feel you, man. But I love that you pulled back though. Like you pulled too many drones, but I like that you pulled back before you killed it, because now it has to be canceled anyways. Especially since now you see his natural has a CC in it, so you know he's not even. There's no chance of a multi-barracks proxy. All right. And there's the Reaper. So he just wanted to annoy your rally point, basically. And then, yeah. So far not bad. I would say with Terran too. I don't know if you do this on the norm, but whenever you play against a Terran and they haven't shown you something that is like right in your face that you can see somehow right away, where it's like, okay, this is what you're doing. You should always make blind 4-lings at least, just because it's a very high chance the Terran's going to open with a Reaper, and the Reaper's going to harass you. And if you don't have lings guarding your drones, if you lose even 1 drone, it's already not worth it anymore for the fact that you skipped the lings. And if you're also losing mining time and you're building buildings to save drones, obviously it's nice not to lose the drone. It's better than just losing the drone, but it's still worse than if you would have just built lings.
Okay. Yeah. I usually open 4 lings.
Okay, cool.
All the time. But the build was a little slow because I pulled all those drones.
No, exactly. I understand. But yeah, just make sure you keep that in mind always. Just making sure you know, basically.
Yeah, I've been doing. I don't really know any build. I hadn't played in like 4 years. Besides, like a couple weeks ago, I started playing again.
Oh, dude, welcome back, man.
Yeah, no, it's a good game. But normally, I do 17 hatch first against Terran, then 17 pool, and then gas afterwards. And then after I get speed, I pull 2 drones and just try to drone pretty hard.
Yeah, okay.
That's pretty much.
It. Yeah, it's
other than that, I don't have any build or anything.
With this game, keep going. What are you gonna say?
Oh no, like in general with ZvT, I just like I'll make a bane nest and evos whenever I feel like it. I'll make a roach warren too.
Yeah. No, it sounds good. I like that you made the roach warren this game too, but I think you made it maybe a little bit too early, which is what I was gonna tell you right here. So your roach warren, you made it because you went for reactor talents, I'm assuming, which is great. But the thing I would recommend is is you can make your Roach Warren. There's 2 steps you have to do before you make the Roach Warren. Number 1, if you're going to play a macro game, is you should take a third base before taking the Roach Warren. And then the second one is you should spend your larva. Because right now you don't have a third and you have 7 larvae and you took a Roach Warren. And you do have, actually you're also capped at the moment. But like what this kind of ends up happening is you're stunting your own economy. You're stalling it out to get faster roaches. And the first 2 Hellions can't do anything to you anyways if you have speedlings. You really only, and even the first 4 Hellions. If the 4 Hellions just drive right into your mineral line, there's a very high chance, like 10 to 12 lings plus queens will kill them before very many of your drones die at all, or any of your drones die, depending on how you catch them with your lings. So you really only need roaches once he gets to a point where he has like 6 Hellions. And then beyond that, and anything above the 6 is like, okay, maybe I really need roaches now because it's getting pretty scary for the lings.
Yeah.
So if you make
Does it mess up your economy too bad if I make like 2 or 3 roaches just so I don't have to deal with any Hellions?
It does, because first of all, you're making the Roach Warren way too early, and then if you're making roaches on top of that, it's also that's very larva expensive, or very supply expensive, which means you have to also make overlords faster. Roaches are also expensive in themselves. It'll make you have to make too much supply too fast, and it'll really reduce the amount of income you have because you'll have less money to make drones with.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I would say maybe take all you gotta do is just take your third a little faster. Like you could take your third at like 35 supply or like 32 supply, and then you could spend all your larvae after your first inject. And as soon as if you see it, especially that gives you even more indication as to when you should take it. But as soon as his first 2 Hellions start building, is when you maybe should start the Roach Warren.
Okay.
So your Roach Warren's probably just like 20 seconds too early.
Yeah, and that could have been 3 more drones. Well, I was supply block too, so I guess it doesn't matter.
Exactly, yeah. But your third could have been a little quicker, and other things could just go faster.
Yeah.
Alright, and then I like that you're continuing some queen production too. I think the way I do it, you don't have to do it the way I do it, by the way, but the way I do it...
You make queens in the natural?
Yeah, exactly. I just make 1 queen by 1 queen by 1 queen, because it allows me to have as much money as I can to do other things, because I'm pretty greedy with how I take bases. But if you make queens 2 at a time out of your main and natural, that's totally fine. But just keep in mind if that's going to be what you're going to do. I'm going to pause it just for a second so we don't miss anything. If you make queens 2 at a time, that actually is also another trade-off to what roaches are as well. That's more defense faster against things like Hellions, because now if let's say I was playing my build and he showed up with 6 Hellions, I would have 2 extra roaming queens on top of my injecting queens, and that'd be it. But if you here are making double queen, double queen, double queen, now suddenly when he shows up with his first sorry, excuse me, he shows up with like 6 Hellions, and now instead of having like 4 queens, now you have 7 queens or 8 queens, and it's totally different because you just have much more ranged pressure, and 1 queen will beat the crap out of 1 Hellion. So that would actually delay the requirement for roaches on top of that, because you could actually now at that point without roaches zone out like 6 Hellions.
Gotcha.
So yeah, your build, I like it, but if you like to go double queen like this, that's totally fine. I would say actually build your Roach Warren though now at like 5 minutes and 30 seconds.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, I try to be as greedy as I can. This game is a little different from a normal build, but everything got messed up, so I guess that affects it.
Yeah, it's all good. This guy's a talker, dude. Hi. And then another big thing about Terran, if you do not want to go for what's it called? If you don't want to go for Overlord speed, which I usually don't go for as well myself, to be honest. I sometimes do it, but a lot of times I will not. Second Overlord.
Like Overseers?
Well, okay, so it doesn't have to necessarily be Overseer, but this is what I would recommend you do. Always send 2 Overlords to your opponent's base if you do not want to get Overlord speed. And if your first Overlord gets killed like the way it did, then You have
Yeah, I
a,
usually send one here and then one here, and then I throw one in, but I don't know why there's one not there.
yeah, okay.
So,
So like both sides of the base. I can't see your pings if you're pinging right now.
oh yeah, I was pinging. Yeah, one on
Like
like his
the top.
third,
Yeah, okay,
and
yeah,
then
yeah.
one at the bottom.
Exactly.
Not usually at the. I usually see the ramp, but it died. So
Yeah,
I
exactly.
guess.
That's good. So it gives you the like all it is it just gives you the ability to like see what's going on more in their base, and then somehow suddenly, if you can't see their base, and you don't see like let's say you check the front of their base, okay, and you don't see like this big buildup of ground army where it's looking like Ghost Hellbat, or it's looking like Marauder Hellbat, or it's looking like fucking just tons of Marines and Hellbat, because you already know he's going Hellions. So that's a given as to what's happening already, but you haven't yet seen a buildup of ground, so you don't know it's like a guaranteed confirmation of like a big ground push that's coming at you. I would say once your third base is saturated, you take a Spore Crawler in every base, because what this will do is this will help you if you we're talking about if you haven't seen his tech yet. This will just help you with the potential of a BC, a Liberator, or a battlecruiser, Liberator, or a Banshee. The biggest ones is it completely shuts down Banshees. It helps at initially dealing with battlecruisers.
Yeah, it doesn't really do anything for Liberators, but Queens are super
Exactly.
easy to,
The only thing it does for like Liberator and Medevac is it allows you the option now to move it if you want to put it in a better location, to where like, oh, I'm gonna put it way back behind my mineral line and shove it over there and hit a Liberator that's trying to zone out my drones or whatever, you know.
Yeah, I've been putting the spores a lot of times behind the mineral line. I don't know. I just think it.
I think you should always start with it.
Better.
I think you should always start with it in the mineral line, because it's
Okay.
easier to counter a Liberator without being ready for it, as opposed to countering a Banshee. Because if you actually have the Spore out of position to deal with the Banshee, the Liberator, or the Banshee itself could sit over the center of your hatchery and start picking your drones off. Or like, it could sit on like the edge of your hatchery, opposite of where the Spore is, and it could be cloaked still, because your Spore can't see because it's too far away.
Got you.
But if your Spore is like in the center of the mineral line, even if it can't hit the Banshee, the detection radius is actually bigger than its attack radius. So you can always at least see it with the Queen and shove it away, if it's hitting like your gas drones or something like that. You have good creep spread though. That is one benefit that goes with making multiple Queens, is your creep spread is accelerated.
Yeah, I usually try to do good. Yeah, this is
Yeah, so
not good.
it's all good, dude. We'll talk about it really fast. So with this, what's going on here is obviously this sucks for you, but there comes with pacing with your build, okay? And I'm gonna kind of just give you like a rough pacing version of what your build should be, because you make multiple Queens out of multiple hatcheries, which again, it's totally fine. It's actually better versus like BC openers. But here's how you should kind of pace it. When the game opens and your spawning pool finishes, always just make 4 lings if it's a standard game. And then you stop making lings and you make Queens and drones, and you're good to go. You go deal with the Reaper or whatever. Now, let's say you scout like you did and you see, oh, he's going Reactor and Hellion. Your next pacing of the build should be, while still making Queens, when your Zergling speed is about 80 to 90% of the way done.
Yeah, you make like 8 lings or something like that.
Yeah, yep. You're just going to make an extra like 8 lings or so. So you're now going to have like 12. And then you're done. And then the next part of your build should be, we'll say 5 minutes, okay? At 5 minutes, you make a Roach Warren. And you're still making Queens, still making Queens, still making Queens. And now at 5 minutes, when the Roach Warren is built, it'll be your Roach Warren will be finishing around 5:37, I think it is. 5:39. So we'll just say 5:40 to round it off. Around 5:40, your Roach Warren should be finishing. And now, the second your Roach Warren's done, I want you to make 5 roaches. And that's going to be to deal with the if the guy literally does not attack you early and he just builds up, keeps building more Hellions. Now suddenly you have 12 lings and 5 roaches and let's say like 5 roaming Queens or 4 roaming Queens.
By that time, would you want your third base?
Oh, you
mineral line saturated?
Yeah, you could like if you do it like this, the pacing. Every time you're not building the lings and you're not building the roaches, you're just spamming out drones. Yeah. So it'll totally be saturated by that point.
And would a fourth be started by then too?
Yep. So the pacing of your build should be, you take your main and your natural, and as soon as you start saturating your natural, you take a third base, and then and once your third base is done, as soon as you start saturating your third base, you start a fourth base.
Okay, cool. And then you take the 2 off of gas, right? For after you get speed.
Yeah.
And then you don't get any gases until you finish your third saturation?
If you're gonna go for the defensive Ling Bane, or sorry, the defensive Ling Roach opener into eventually Ling Bane. You said Ling Bane Hydra, or do you say Ling Bane Muta later on?
I really just go Ling Bane and then decide what I feel like doing.
Okay, that's fine. That works too. So if you're gonna be the guy who likes to just go mass Ling Bane, basically, your build should kind of be like this, for gas and macro hatch additions to it. It should be gets Zergling speed, take 2 off of the gas, so you're leaving with 1. Once you fully saturate your natural and you start saturating your third, this is when you not only take your 4th base, but you should also
macro hatch.
Yeah, exactly. You could start your 4th base. You could start a gas at your natural or your main, wherever the fuck you want to put it, and then you resaturate your other gas. So now you're going on saturating a 3rd base plus going back to 2 full gas saturation.
When you start saturating
when you
third.
start saturating your 3rd. When your natural is fully saturated, that's when you fix your gas.
Okay.
Because you don't need to spend the gas on anything else before this, and you're totally fine otherwise. And then as soon as you fully saturate your 3rd and you've dealt with an attack, and you're at the position where you're like, okay, well now I could saturate my 4th if I wanted to. That's when you're gonna want to add on 2 more gases and go up to 4 gas as well. And then that'll allow you to have plenty of gas to not only upgrade your tech and upgrade your units themselves, but also make a healthy amount of banelings to add into your army. And you're not going to really gas explode until you make that decision where you're like, all right, now I'm going to start adding in Mutas or Hydras or whatever. Then when you do that, when you're at that stage, that's when you add in the rest of your gas.
Okay, and then do you take your second macro hatch when you're starting saturating your 4th, or after saturating?
Yeah, you take your 4th base first. For like your hatchery production-wise, you always take your 4th base at a mineral line.
No,
with this build
I know
first.
that. I mean, so you take your 4th base, right? And then you have a macro hatch in your main. When do you do your second macro hatch?
You can take your first macro hatch after the 4th base, as soon as you can afford it and your larva is fine, and you take your second macro hatch when your 4th base is saturated.
Okay. So when you're at like 80 drones or 75 or something like that?
Yeah, if you're taking only 2, or sorry, if you're only going to have 4 gases and then 4 mineral lines, it'll be around like 80 drones. Yeah.
Okay.
And then your last gases that you build, the last 4 gases you build will put you up to like 92 drones or so, or like 94 drones, kind of just depending on how if you're making spines here and there or rotating your drones to like a 5th base. But it'll be around 90 drones once you take all your gases. And then, yeah.
And if you get to that point, you should be pretty fine.
Yeah, well, if you're at that point and you're able to actually spend your money at that point and you're not like neglecting the injects and stuff, you will definitely be the Zerg who overwhelms your opponent and you'll just flood them again and again and again. But yeah, this one, the other reason why this is happening too is just because the pacing of your units is a little off. You have 2 Roaches at this point, which is it's obviously not enough to zone out the Hellions very well, which is resulting in just drones dying.
Try to save as many as I can, but this is already pretty much over, I think.
Yeah, no, if they actually get to the point where they're driving around your mineral line and you can't stop it from happening and they just move to another mineral line, you've already lost the game basically. It just means you didn't have enough. Oh my god, this game
it goes on for a while.
Yeah,
it goes on for a while.
I just looked at it.
I try not to give up, you know.
No, it's
I
good.
macroed pretty hard, and I sort of came back, but I still lost because of all this.
If you're someone who has the patience to do this, it's actually a great idea to play like this because it teaches you how to play from behind.
Yeah.
So yeah, in this position now, if I were you, I'm gonna pause it and just walk you through my mindset, and we'll see what you do. If I were you right now, first things first that I would do is I would immediately make an overseer, and I would go scout his base, and I'd be like, what the hell am I gonna be now fighting against? Because that was just a pressure. That was not his actual army. So if you just make something blindly here, you're throwing the dice, basically being like, I might just make the wrong stuff and I might just die. But first things first that I would do is I would go, okay, this guy's using Hellions to harass me, which might mean he might make another round of Hellions because that was a lot. So I'm going to make I'm going to go up to like the 5 Roaches that we just talked about, which is just adding on 3 more. And then I'm going to make mass drones while I scout up with an Overseer. And as soon as I see his base, I will then try to create a counter in some way, shape, or form that is effective against what he's doing. Maybe it's
because that's the only way you could win.
Exactly. Maybe I make Broad Banes if he goes for a mass bio. Maybe I make Infestors. Maybe I make a Spire if he's making like a shitload of tanks right now and hope that I can fucking just overpower the like 1 or 2 Thors and kill the rest of his army with Mutas. It has to be some logical way that seems cost efficient against what he might follow up with. But just if you were just to be like, I'm just gonna make Link, just mass Link Bane from here, or something like that, it's probably gonna lose you the game, because if you just make an army that's gonna be just brute force, auto attacking into his army, there's a high chance you're gonna die now to a Terran that doesn't suck at macro, or doesn't mess up his macro while harassing you.
Yeah.
Because they'll just have more. And creep spread also at this point now is even more important than it was before, because you want to have as much advantages as you can give yourself, and that's an advantage you can focus on more now, since things just went bad.
And go bad again.
Oh man, it's brutal. So this is why I would have said I would have made like the extra roaches to go up to 5, because if he didn't see you once, he could very well do it to you again. So you'd want to have the the secured base here to deal with that, which is also why creep spread's really important too at this point, because you definitely don't want that happening a second time.
Yeah. We could probably go through the rest of this kind of quickly, I guess, if you want to. So it's not, because it's just, I'm just trying to drone as hard as I can.
Yeah, yeah.
Pretty much. I think I get back up to, not a good drone count, but decent for how many drones I lost.
Yeah. So now, if we're seeing he's going for a Hellion, Cyclone, and Liberator army behind this, the best thing you can do at this point...
So Ling Bane's pretty good, or Roach Bane?
Yeah,
Roach Ling Bane?
Yeah, Roach Ling Bane, and add in a couple infestors, and you're like pretty solid. Roachling Bane by itself will beat small amounts of that army, because you can just overwhelm it, especially if you like surround it. But if it gets really big and he kills all your creep and he keeps coming from one direction,
yeah, I killed his whole army there. I thought he was leaving, but
yeah,
he's still ahead.
So if the army ever does get big though, and he's coming from one direction, you'll never beat him coming from one direction as well, unless you have Fungal, something that can slow his army down. Otherwise, the Terran just made a big mistake and just let you surround him, basically. But, okay, so you did kill his army. I don't mind the Muta choice that you chose here, because you killed the Cyclones.
He was going Banshees and stuff, so I thought.
Yeah, but it makes sense because you killed the Cyclones. Cyclones actually kill Mutas, though, if it's equal numbers. And now he actually has a lot of Cyclones again. I feel like... Okay, now they're all dead again. This guy does not kite.
No, he's pretty bad. But I think I was too far behind.
No, you're definitely in a bad spot because you've lost a lot of drones. So it makes the game harder for you overall. I like that you're going Corruptors now too. I think Muta is actually this point, or maybe not the best choice now because he's going DCs.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Right, I'm gonna pause it really fast and see your upgrades and stuff. All right, so I'm gonna.
I just didn't have any money.
No,
I should be 3/3 and have like +2 air and all that.
Yeah, yeah.
And 5 probably too.
I'm gonna really quickly give you some upgrade choices here and logical things to go with here.
Okay.
So if you're gonna go Spire, which I think is a great choice, I love Spire against Mech, and he's obviously going Mech. But if you're gonna go for weapon upgrades are Muta efficient upgrades. So I would not mind at all if you would have gone for weapon upgrades in the situation, because not only can the Muta kill buildings faster, the Muta can also kill any units he makes faster. It's just common sense. But if you go for Muta, it's Broodlords and Corruptors and stuff like that. It should always be backed up by like spellcaster based armies,
like Vipers and Infestors and stuff like that.
Yeah. My I guess the thing I'm trying to say here is if you feel like it's going to be like a good position for you now to be like, oh, I can just take Broodlords here because I have him defensive and it's going to go really well. That's fine, but you should always stay defensive with that kind of an army then at that point if you don't have spellcasters, and like stay defensive until you do. Because Mutas are going to be good with... Mutas are great with weapon upgrades, but Corruptor Broodlord kind of suffer a little bit with weapon upgrades.
So you want Carapace?
Yeah, exactly. But if your plan overall is to be like, nah, you know what? I'm actually going to go Broodlord Corruptor, and I'm going to be a little bit aggressive with that. I'm going to move out on the map. I'm going to start slamming his expansions with Broodlords and have Corruptors covering them, and Corruptors can then deal with BCs. Like, if you're just going to make Corruptors to deal with Battlecruisers, you definitely want Carapace over weapons, because those things are going to shred your units so much faster without armor upgrades. It's just your army is way more vulnerable basically without it. So those are kind of always, no matter what upgrade you get, it's still a good idea to get spellcasters to back them up eventually anyways. But just keep that in mind. If your priority is to go Broodlord Corruptor, you should get Carapace, and if your priority is to go for meter pressure, you should get weapons. In general, against Terran.
Okay.
Look at all that creep. Oh my god. That's beautiful.
Yeah, that's a lot of creep tumors. They're not spread very well, but there's a lot.
But yeah, this position for you, I would say Broodlords. I would if I were you, I would just be defensive. Okay, I would be defensive. I would try to go into Broodlord. I would try to go into Spellcaster because his army is going to get very scary. And yeah, that was just. I feel like right there, that's what happens when you have a weapon upgraded BCs against no Carapace Corruptor. You just die. Like Corruptors just disappear. But if in this situation too, if you think about it like this, I'll just recap it really quick one time really fast. If you have, let's just say hypothetically, you were defensive, you got Corruptor, Carapace, because you wanted to go into Corruptors, and you were eventually going to get Broodlords. But right now when he attacks you, you have Carapace Corruptors, and you push him off your base, because you have a more stable, durable army, and he flies away or he teleports away. He just leaves with his BCs, but he still does quite a bit of damage to your Corruptors. Let's say he kills like 8 of them with Yamato cannons, and then he just teleports away or some shit, because you still have like another 15 or 16 with Carapace.
Yeah.
And then after that fight, you're like, okay, he's going mass BCs. He teleported away. I didn't really kill anything. Next time you fight him. If you still have a lot of Corruptors, now you have a little bit more gas to spend on other things. If you were to do something like go for, let's say, Neural Parasite Infestors with Burrow.
Yeah, that'd be really good.
With Corruptor, exactly. You could just Neural Parasite his shit.
Then you could teleport him around and kill him.
Yeah, you could force him to teleport in your own army, and then it wastes the cooldown, and then you can make him also Yamato Cannon himself, if he hasn't already cast that again. And then it's just fucking... like if battlecruisers are forced to fight Corruptors, and it's somewhat equal supply, 100% you're going to smash his army. If you're on top of that, let's just say hypothetically the Terran has like twice the supply that you do. He's got 100 supply in this army, and most of it is in BC, and you only have like 60 supply as Zerg, and it's in Corruptor and Infestor. You have like 20 Corruptors and 10 Infestors. You'd still crush his army with a little bit of Neural Parasite and Focus Firing Corruptors, taking out his BCs. Like it's just way more efficient for Zerg in the situation. So yeah, just
cool.
Something to keep in mind, I guess.
Cool. You remember that game me and you played where you did the storm drops and I went Ultralisk?
Oh yeah. I remember that. What about it?
Oh no, I don't know. The talking about Corruptors reminded me about it because you were showing everybody afterwards how to micro.
Oh yeah, okay. I think you're just being like, "Hey, remember that? Yeah, it happened." I was like, "Nice, dude."
So this one I play a little bit. I actually win, and I think the macro is decent, so you can just tell me how bad I am and what I need to do to be better, I guess.
Yeah, you're, I think the biggest thing...
That was bad. That was bad. This is me playing a little better, so you can see, maybe.
We'll check it out. I should just say the biggest problem I saw last game, though, was the pacing of your build. Like, your third is a little late, and your roach is a little early, and then there wasn't enough roaches... oh, your lead this time.
Oh. You want to just quit and go back into it?
No, it's okay. Just put it on ×2 for now, just until we get to... So I can go through your build a little bit.
Chat again, mess up.
Yeah, I know. It's a lot of people like to talk. And it does definitely get distracting. I know what you mean. I like that you, so your pacing of your larva was a bit better this time, even though you're typing a lot. It was a lot better than last time.
I try to spend it as soon as it pops up. But...
the last time, like the first game, you spent it like 170. This time you spent it at about 70. So it was a lot better. To go so you don't larva cap before you make the pool. It was good. Pause it really fast right here. This is something that I recommend you do in your games against Terran in general. It helps a lot at securing a third base against standard Terran players. And what you do is, right now, instead of making that Zergling you have in your main, that'd be one more drone. And you would already be sending a drone right now to your third base. And the reason why you do this is because
Just to hide it from the Reaper.
Exactly. Right now, your Overlord, if he's playing standard, the Overlord scouting his natural should be seeing a Reaper just walk into your base right now. Like it should be already, his Reaper should be spawning like right now and getting ready to come to your base. And then if you have a drone that right now also runs up to your third base, you'll pass that Reaper just before it sees it. Like your drone will be cutting that corner between your third and your natural, like where your second Overlord kind of is right now. It'll be going up there, right as the Reaper is probably like passing the bushes in the middle of the map and getting ready to come up your ramp. So you
send a drone the second your pool finishes, basically?
You send a drone the second you build your 20th drone.
Okay.
So the 20th drone replaces the drone you just sent to your mineral line, and then that one drone you just sent goes and he just chills at your third base. You can even hide him behind your third, like in the corner of the map if you want to, like off near the edge, or just whatever the hell you want to do. But what you want to do is you want to keep him there until you make 2 queens and 4 lings, and then you build your third base, and then you go back to droning, and then that's also around the time you're going to take 2 drones off gas, and you're going to get ready to get speed and then continue droning.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, and you can't play again. And it'll give you just like a really well-paced third base, and it will allow you to do the saturation properly if you can get it down at that time. And not have it be delayed either by someone camping the front of your natural with a Reaper.
Yeah, it sucks when you lose your drone for the third.
Yeah, no, exactly. Especially if the Reaper just sits there too the whole time, and you have to just wait till ling speed finishes. It's super annoying. So, seeing what you saw there, that was really good. I totally would recommend you do that as well. You just saw that he's 1-1-1, and pause it really fast. You also saw that he was tech labbing. He has a reactor and a tech lab. Now, if I were you, and I saw this build, 100% I would be going into his base one more time. Not all the way in, but I would skirt the edge of, if your Overlord at his base right now were to, let's say, go directly to the right and go over where like the mineral patch is right there. You could see the edge of his barracks, and you could be like, do you still have a barracks on that reactor, or do you not? And if he does,
to see if he's going by over mech.
Yeah, exactly. Like it doesn't fully tell you if he's going to go by Ormeki yet, because it's still really early, but it tells you what his first timing is going to be. And if it stays on a barracks, you can assume it's going to be Marine heavy. It might be Marine Hellbat Liberator. It might be Marine Hellbat Raven. It's something like if it's Marine still and it's 1-1-1, you can almost assume it's going to be Marine Hellbat, because there's no reason why the hell he would go Marine, or maybe it's Marine Widowmine. That's also a possibility. And you did see a Widowmine already, so maybe he makes multiple. That is something that's possible. But that's really his only options. He's not going to go for anything else. It's just really weird, basically. Otherwise. Or maybe it's just going to be like a starport harassing you with defensive Marines, which is a very awkward build for Terran to do. These are all things you can think about, though. It's like the possibilities of what he could do. But if you scout his basic entity to be like, oh, he's actually got a factory there now, then you can obviously assume that he made the Marines just to deny scouting, and it's now just he's going into a 1-1-1 factory with Hellions and Banshees or something.
Makes sense.
But yeah, you can hit play again. And the even better thing is you would actually see double starport right now as well if you go in there and check it again, which is even more
around 3:30.
Yeah, and you don't have to sacrifice it either. It's just scouting the edge.
Yeah.
The first one should be sacked though. You should definitely dive in and be like, "What are you doing?"
So that was good then.
Yeah, but like it doesn't normally die either if he does something really tech greedy. This guy did not go tech greedy though. He delayed his tech a little bit in certain ways to make Marines. And the way he's delaying it is he's not harassing you at all, and he's just rushing Banshees. He has one-sided harass here.
Is this better with the thing? So like I've been droning up, and I got the I'm just making queens out of the natural, and I got a layer started. Is this all normal?
Your layer is, I would say, way too early, and you have too many lings as well right now. The reason why this is, I would say this is.
I did it because the speed was about to finish, like you said. Like when speed?
No, of course, yeah. I know. I totally get like why you made more lings, but you made too many. Right now, you have 18 lings. You should literally, honestly, you should be stopping around like 12, which is, the difference of a few more drones. And every drone counts so much more early game at setting up your build. But right now, if you see what you're saying right now, you see 2 starports. You just saw a Banshee and 2 starports upgrading tech labs. Pause it really fast.
Spores.
Exactly. You need spores, and you need to also make not only mineral defensive spores, you need to make zoning spores as well. And
like in between the bases
yeah.
and stuff.
You would need to make. I would say you need to have 6 spores right now. You would want to have one in your main. You would want to have one between your main and your natural, kind of like where the edge of your creep is, at the edge of your main right now, going towards your ramp. One one in the natural, and then what you'd want to have one at the front of your natural, where between those two like big cliff podium things, where you kind of where your creep tumor is, right there. You'd want to have a spore like right under that, and then you'd want to have another spore kind of above that, where your creep is touching your third base from your natural, because the whole point is you want to have, it's almost like you know how you have, like you see a movie and it's like a snowstorm and you have those like podiums like smacked into the ground and then you have like a string attached to them so they can see where they're going. It's almost like that. You want to have like coverage everywhere, because if you have any open spot of like where it's like, oh, this is like one screen length of openness between my natural and my third, a Banshee could just sit there and be like, kill drone, kill drone, kill drone, kill drone. So you don't want that to happen. You want to have
it's like what you do with the battle cruiser, except less force.
Yeah, you just want to have coverage basically, and then the queens can be the ones that bounce around the line and be like, oh, Banshees are there, let's go defend that spot. Banshees are here, let's defend that spot. And
then Lings can stay for Hellions or whatever.
Exactly, yeah. And then you'll be totally good.
Okay.
So
what about the Bane Nest timing?
I still think it's your build. The order of it's a little out of order.
Okay.
So I like what we talked about earlier with if you would have stopped at like 12 Lings, that would have been great. If you would have made a Roach Warren first, because if we look at your vision right now, I guess hold on. I mean, you did see the. I'm not gonna beat you up on that actually. You did scout and see the barracks, and it was still in a reactor. So you don't actually need the Roach Warren. You know.
Oh, I did sack the other Overlord.
Yeah, no, I saw it. I take it back. Your link count's fine. It's not a big deal. You actually scouted someone who's going for reactored Marines, and there could be a buildup at this point. And he's also going now double starport. I'm not gonna beat you up. The Lings are fine. Lings are fine. And the fact that you went for a Bane Nest is actually fine, because you're actually seeing what looks like Marine Banshee now possibly tank, because he's got a tech lab on a factory now. So your Bane Nest is fine. Your Ling count is fine. It's actually not bad. You have 3 base saturated. I take it all back. Your build's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, it's generally speaking what you were. The big reason why I was kind of telling you that though is because your second Overlord scouted in a little late by about maybe like 30 seconds. It was chilling up at the middle line for a little bit, and if you don't know what's happening, and he was making Hellions like right away, right after your first Overlord died, there's a chance you could have dealt with once again like 6 Hellions, right driving into your base, and like maybe it's Hellbats, and like he has like 4 Marines and like 6 Hellbats, and if you had something like that, it would be really really hard for you to deal with, if you delay the Roach Warren or don't build it at all basically. But you eventually saw it. You saw it. You're fine, and it's all good. I like that you actually went for Bane Nest now too. The timing of the Bane Nest is totally fine. You should be taking the Bane Nest right around the time you take the layer. So that's totally fine.
Okay, so I should do like after 3 base saturated, basically?
Yeah, that's totally fine timing to take the Bane Nest. The only time you would
take a 4th first. Oh, yeah, I should already have the 4th by now.
Yeah, you should have it started for sure.
Yeah.
You should start the 4th base when you start saturating the 3rd base. Like after you, after you, like what I mean by that is, I don't mean like you build like 1 drone and then now take a 4th base. I mean as soon as you're like building your first round of drones, you spend all the larvae, and then you go take your 4th base once you have a little bit more money freed up again.
Gotcha. And then after I take the 4th, after the 3rd saturated, I can layer Bane Nest, double Evo, or
yeah, that works totally fine. That's great.
Okay.
And then your priority upgrade with your gas is going to definitely be
bailing speed.
Bailing speed, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I listen to you when you talk on your stream. I know.
It helps, man. It makes it all easier to absorb when you're asking questions and stuff. All right, so these Banshees showed up a little bit later, so you actually can make a.
But I see what you're talking about with the spores behind the mineral line.
Totally, yeah. But the fact that you have, like, he went for double starport, so it's a little bit late. So you actually had time to build an overseer before he really started harassing you.
He killed my creep too, so I got to build it back.
Yeah, but for sure, even if you have, like, if you know it's Banshee, and let's say you still even have the overseer ready to go, I would still recommend making spores if your style is going to be heavy Ling main.
Okay.
The only time I would say you could kind of skip multiple spores is if you're rushing like mutas or something like that. But that kind of isn't really in the meta right now. Fast mutas kind of sucks. Yo, J Mad Skills, thank you for the sub, man.
Yeah, I've been liking like delaying mutas forever, basically. Like maxing out on Lingbane and then...
Yeah, no, it's way better.
Yeah.
It's so much better for like Legacy of the Void playstyles, because Legacy of the Void is all about expanding hardcore, because you mine out so fast now.
So, is everything else pretty good so far? Like, I got the macro hatch, the fourth is getting saturated.
Yeah.
I have too many gases, I guess.
This, it's okay. Your gases, you can see on some of the gases, they look like they were taken really recently because they've mined less than 200 gas. Or like the one in your main, for instance, is just starting.
I tried to do it after the lines are, like, after they're already fully saturated.
Yeah, it's okay with kind of how you did it here. The only thing though that I would say is right now, if you're gonna take them right this second, right now, what you should be doing actually is you should be starting your whatever tech you're gonna do though. Like you should be starting the Spire or you should be starting the Hydrogen when you start the extra, like the rest of your gas, because otherwise you're gonna be in a position where you have like 2,000 or 3,000 gas, and you're just not gonna be able to spend it because you'll never spend it making Lingbane.
Yeah.
And then the other thing about it about your build right now too is your third base, or your fourth base is starting to be saturated now. I would love to see the second macro hatch starting right now as well. Otherwise, you'll never be able to spend your money going Lingbane either.
Am I being too greedy? Like, because we haven't really had a fight.
No.
Besides the I fought the Banshees or whatever, but I'm making drones.
The only reason,
not units.
The only reason why you're not being too greedy here is because first of all, you scouted. He went for double starport, and then secondly, you already have Lingbane. You don't have Bane speed yet, which is not great, but you do. Yeah, I would say you have enough Lingbane right now to deal with an attack that could follow up whatever he's doing, and then you could make more while you're getting ready to set up a defense. So like, let's say he shows up at in front of your base right now, and he's got like more Marines and tanks or some shit. This army could kill his army if he just stims forward and runs into it and dies, 100%. But it doesn't. Your army right now does not have to initially pounce on his army right away either. You could
we can just wait for more units.
Exactly. You could just wait. Yep.
So I guess I did put a spore in between the bases, but probably not enough.
Yeah, I would say you're just missing an extra spore where that creep is not connected, and then now you'd also want to add in like 1 or 2 spores at your fourth base, because if this guy's committed so hard into double starport Banshees and he's still on double starport, as you can see, getting a few spores is not a bad idea. That was a good attack. You scouted for a third, and you actually killed a third CC. This would be the perfect time, I would say, that you should just be like, okay, I have a huge lead, and
make more drones.
Or pause it really fast. There's a few things I'll tell you really quick. Making more drones is questionable, because you did kill a third CC, and you actually lost some links for it, but you didn't really kill an army there. So, and he's also the fact that your Terran opponent is now basically back on 2 bases, and you're already on 4 bases. Taking a 5th base might be a little too greedy. It might be like, oh shit, like I'm already really ahead. Let's get even more ahead in the economy. Like it's maybe a little too greedy at that point. The bigger thing I would say you should do is the fact that you're already saturated on 4 bases is great. But now you should actually have expand your supply on Lingbane would be totally good right now, just to make sure you don't die to anything, and you can maybe kill him with a counter pressure once you like max or something or get close to it. But have a backup plan, because if you think about it, if you what is this guy's position going to be probably in this game?
He might all in, since he lost the base.
Exactly. I feel like he has 2 choices. One is he can all in you, and the other is he can go ultra turtly now and try to expand again. So if he does either one of those things, if you just make a lot of Lingbane, if he all ins you, you're going to crush it. If he plays really turtly and you max, you can attack him, and you can see what happens. Maybe you kill another third base, whatever. We'll see. We'll do that. At that point in time, we would see what happens. But if you make,
you want to have like your tech ready to
exactly. So you don't want to just max out on Lingbane, attack him, max out on Lingbane, attack him, max out on Lingbane, attack him. What you want to do is you want to max out on Lingbane the first time, attack him, and remax into something more effective at breaking a turtle, if that's what his plan's now going to be, which would be
like going towards Broodlords.
Exactly. Yep. Because you already have a hive, you already have the upgrades going to. You would have the upgrades going to Adrenal and 3/3 at that point. So you could very easily fit in a Greater Spire as well, because you will. Lingbane is not that expensive, so you could easily have a little bit of money to spare to do that.
Gotcha. Do you would you put your infestation put after 1/1 finishes So you can have Hive in time for 3/3?
Yeah, perfect.
What is...
Perfect upgrade
Okay.
timing is as soon as you start 2/2, if you start Infestation Pit and the second Infestation Pit's done, you start a Hive, you can start 3/3 right as Hive finishes.
Okay, and then you would drop a Spire when you start Hive, too, if you wanted to go into Brood Lords, right?
A Hive and a Spire have the exact same build time.
Yeah, okay. So you might play again?
Yep.
Well, Creep Shred's not great because he killed it at the beginning, but...
It's okay. You're still putting emphasis on it. You're still doing it. So, Creep is also really important in this situation, too, because you can suffocate him out of the map as well if you, let's say, kill a base and now you shove Creep in the way of it. Because now this turn has to start scanning and scanning and scanning to get back to his bases to expand again, and that's just the worst position to be in out of all. Like, he has to start wasting his future income to now plant the command center down again.
Yeah. Yeah, I took the next macro hatch. I feel like my injects are pretty good, too.
Yeah, what you're doing right now is you're actually spending most of your money at a really good rate going Lingbane, which is hard to do. So your macro in this game is not bad at all.
It's like, whatever, I got a big army.
You should attack. 100% you should attack right now. And I would love you to go for the third base, and that's what you're doing. So it's great. Because now, even if you lose this entire army, if we look at the income right here, he actually has 61 SCVs somehow, still. But he has no third command center. His economy is like a third of yours. You could easily remax in time to deal with the next thing. And this is exactly why, if you remember earlier, I told you should still take this force at your fourth base. This is now becoming a problem for you.
Yeah, this is a way you could, I guess, let him come back.
Yeah. But you've chosen to go mutas, mutas are totally fine, especially since you're actually doing damage and you keep crippling him. Mutas can still kill him out of the game. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I went Mutas because he had a bunch of Banshees. That's pretty much the only reason why. Otherwise, I would have went Corruptors and Brood Lords.
Pause it really fast. We'll talk about that, actually. So Banshees, you shouldn't always feel like you have to go Mutas against Banshees, because you said that last time, too.
Yeah, I don't know why I did. I had a Spire, and I guess I could have just went Corruptors. It probably makes more sense. They're just fast, you know?
Yeah. Because the thing about Banshees is it doesn't matter if they're on the map, like whatever they're doing, and if you have spores at your bases like we talked about, you completely shut them down. And then if you have like Queens or Corruptors or anything that can shoot air with supporting your spores, you will kill all the Banshees no problem, unless it was like 30 Banshees or something like that, which is ridiculous. So you'd be totally fine at defending it as long as you have spore coverage. But the problem with just being like, oh, he's going Banshees, I'm going to go Mutas, is if your opponent would have actually been like, you know what, I'm going to make like 4 Thors now. I'm just going to go for Thor now. And you invest into like 30 Muta, and you're fighting against now Thor turret. You cannot stop his bases anymore then. Like, it's at that point, you've now committed to an army that cannot break him very easily. You have to now circumvent the Thors and try your best to like harass parts of his base that don't have Thors at them, or maybe magic box 1 Thor at a time. Because if you fly over like 4 or 5 Thors or something like that, you're gonna lose your mutas so fast.
Yeah.
And it becomes a situation where it's a bad investment.
Yeah, I should be attacking them with the mutas too, right? Like I'm doing.
Since you made them, yeah, you should. The mutas should definitely not be defensive here, since you made them. But I would say to break him, you don't fully know if he's going to go Thor or not. So making mutas was a little bit of a mistake, because if we look at everyone's vision, he does have double armory. And if this guy was doing double upgrades on Thor, and he wanted to go full mech now, it'd be really hard for you to break that. So it's risky. It's just, but what I'm trying to say is it's a risky move to go muta here.
And there's no reason to take risks.
Yeah, you have control of the game right now, so you don't need to take a risk. You're giving him a chance to get back in the game. But if you go Broodlord, there's no way he stops that.
Yeah.
But yeah, your primary goal of attack should always be cripple the third, cripple the third, cripple the third, over and over. Because if this guy,
he'll be broke.
Exactly. Yeah. If you kill the third, if you look at his main and natural, he has very little money left.
Yeah, same as me, pretty much.
Yeah. So that's the easiest way to kill him would be kill the third. Mutas though, if you have mutas, I don't mind that you attack him like this, because mutas should bounce around as much as they can and do as much damage as you can. Mutas are all about mobility, harass.
Then I go after attachments too.
Yeah. I don't mind the muta harass the way you're doing it right now, but I would say you're fortunate or lucky that he didn't go Thor.
He does eventually go Thors.
Okay.
Probably because I have so many mutas.
Yeah.
I lose a lot there because I was macroing, but It's fine.
Yeah. Exactly. You can take trades that are inefficient for you because you're mining at like twice the rate that he is, or like 3 times the rate that he is.
He has killed a couple of my bases with the Banshee, so I probably should have just made all the spores.
Yeah.
None of that would happen.
Just like 2 spores per base, and you're good to go. Because it also prevents him from harassing you later on in the game, where like, let's just say hypothetically he ran 1 Banshee to both your 4th and your 5th base with Cloak, and he just held position over the mineral line, and you're attacking him, and you realize 45 seconds later, oh shit, I just lost like 32 drones. Or like 44 drones. Because it's 22 per base. And you're like, oh well, that sucks. And now I actually have a low drone count, and I just spent all my money on remaxing on Lings or something, and now I didn't realize that. That should happen.
So I didn't even realize that my economy's not great. I just made a bunch of drones. Never mind.
Yeah. It's just
but it's only at 74.
Yeah, just in general, you should always be making static D later on when you have the money to spare. Helps prevent multi-prong future problems.
I went ultras.
Big mistake. The shittiest unit in the game. They're honestly, ultras are kind of shitty.
Really?
Yeah, they're pretty bad. I've done ultras too myself sometimes, and I'm like trying to make them work, and every time Broodlords are better. I just feel like. About the only time ultras
I like
would be.
Broodlords a lot.
You like Broodlords?
Yeah. I just felt like going ultras. I thought it'd be a good idea.
Every Zerg does, man. I can't really critique you on that. Every Zerg gets that feeling. Like, I want to make ultras, and then you make them, and you're like, well, I didn't really get what I wanted to get done with them. About the only time ultras are actually good is when your opponent is mid-map and you get a full surround and you blow everything up with like cleaves and veins and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you eventually broke him. You did. I would say you prioritized on attacking the main here though. And I feel like that's scary. Again, that's kind of a risk because it's going to probably be more heavily defended with SimCity and units. Whereas if you would have scouted the 4th base, like this is where creep spread comes in really hard.
It's okay. It's not good.
Yeah,
but.
if you have a more of an emphasis on creep and you just like you attack him periodically, try to break him a little bit, but you shove the creep, shove the creep. That's your priority. And now his 4th base is covered in creep, and he scans it. Let's say now he's trying to land a command center at it. Killing that base when it's undefended entirely and there's no SimCity to deal with at all is so much easier of a way to win the game and so much more of a guarantee to win the game than trying to break the main over and over, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So it reduces risk for you if you break his economy over and over. And yeah, I don't know. If I were to tell you things you could work on this game, your macro, not bad. Your macro was was definitely of Master League level this game.
Really?
Yeah, it was. Like you actually went for 4 base saturation relatively. Like it wasn't as fast as it could be, but it was fast enough, and you spent it. It is not easy to spend your money with Ling Bane because if you miss your injects, you're gonna have like 3,000 minerals. Very realistically. So
yeah, all my coins are pretty low. They have some energy now because I was attacking a lot.
Yeah, because this style is definitely more about it's more map coverage. You can be way more aggressive with it if you want to, and being able to always stay on top of your macro is harder. So your macro was good. Your creep spread was, I would say, okay for a little while. Then it got kind of neglected. Your creep spread definitely could use a lot more work here, and your overall tech choices are risky.
Okay.
Yeah. So I would just say you could go into ultras eventually if you want to, but I think the best way to make ultras, if you really want to make them, would be if you started with Broodlords first, especially since he had tank turtle defense. Broodlords would deal with that really well. And let's say somehow you don't kill him, and now he goes mass Viking, then ultras would be better. Something if you really want to go ultras, then that would be like prime time to go them.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And then
so just work on the build. Spread creep, and then the macro is decent. So
yeah, and yeah, not bad.
Cool.
But just really take I feel like I'm not stressing the creep enough. It's a glaring massive issue that if you fix it, you're gonna feel like you have a lot more control of your game.
Okay. The only I think the reason I don't struggle, like ZvT, I have a super awesome win rate because I just do that build with the wall off.
Yeah.
And I usually pretty much never lose. And then ZvP is fine. Sometimes I'll lose that, but they don't do the early harass as much. That's what really puts me behind in the
Yeah.
ZvT. Like in that game, he didn't do much, and I just crushed him. Even though I made bad tech choices and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Because
no,
my macro's good.
I'm glad.
But
I'm glad you said that
Yeah, that's
because the spores we talked about is like the perfect way to deal with people who play like that. Because pretty much every turn he multi-prongs you, it's gonna almost always at this level of play is gonna be, oh, he's hitting me with Banshees, or he's hitting me with the Liberator. Hellions are hitting me, like you're getting roasted in multiple spots. I feel like it's less likely you're gonna play an all-star bio player, even though it could happen, where like he's dropping you with like 3 medevacs over here, then he has like a full push coming here, then he has 1 medevac in your main over there. Things like that could also happen. But either way, like static D is helpful against everything. And if it's bio, you could add in some spines later on when you're fully saturated, when you're like at that 4 base saturation level, and you're at that stage where you're like, I'm gonna attack. Every time you're gonna attack, because you're gonna max out attack, you should always take a second to add static D to your bases, and whatever
more static D.
Yeah, whatever you think is gonna like make sense. Like
And
always
replace the drones.
Yep. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
That's the next thing I was gonna say was you just make drones like as you're making static D.
Yeah, that's what I've been trying to do anytime I make a building or anything. Like ever since I started watching the like you just macro and stuff, I've taken a lot more to make sure all the bases are saturated perfect and all that stuff. And
Yeah.
it seems to do really good.
Yeah, it helps a lot, man. It having like as quick as you can, having optimal saturation and then spinning that saturation, it's what makes the difference between a high level player and a lower level player. 100%. All right. Do you have like a faster one? Maybe like a quick like all-in game, or we could just quickly go over one more if you want.
Yeah, sure.
We could do one more if you're keen.
Yeah, of course. We can just speed through this one. It's only 12 minutes.
Sure.
We can just do it fast. I'll make you host this time so you can do what you want.
Nice. Yeah, I think though.
I just forgot last game.
The what? Sorry.
I forgot to make you host last time.
It's all good. No worries, dude.
What were you saying?
I was just gonna say I think I haven't really been able to see you against bio really yet, but against mech, I feel like the problems you have are definitely like your timings of things that we just talked about. So I think it'll help you.
I wish I had replays of like what I was talking about, what I was struggling with, where they like drop me and harass a lot, but I just don't have a lot right now. So when I get more, I'll save them for next time. So we can look at it.
I'll tell you this really quick, okay? This is a general idea though. I told you this before, but I'll just say it one more time just to make sure. I'll reword it, I guess. With bio, if you know you're playing against bio, okay, the best thing you can do is if you have you don't have to have hotkeys for this. Just have a rally point of like, this is where my Ling Bang goes in center of my base. And you're like, okay, he's attacking me in my main base with a medevac. Just 1 medevac.
Yeah, and you just make units and leave them there?
Yeah, exactly. It's 100%. Just fucking leave them there.
Yep.
Just leave them there. And then as soon as you're ready to attack, now you can grab everything. You could F2 it if you want to, rebind it the hotkey, and be like, let's go attack now, because I'm ready to attack with my big fatty timing. And then all my new units, you do not add them into your control group and be like, add the eggs in. Just let them build and let them go to your base again, wherever they're gonna go. And if he drops you again, restart the process. Be like, go down, defend the main. Okay, leave him there. Okay, you guys go defend the 4th base. Leave him there. And just keep doing this process like this, and you'll deal with medevac drops so much easier until you get to the point where you're like, okay, now I have mutas that can like go actually snipe the medevacs really easy, and it's over now entirely.
Is that for like the beginning? Because it's not really like the late game.
It is for the late game a little bit, because you're doing the playstyle that I also like to do, which is you delay mutas.
Yeah.
You're like,
because it's the early, like the really early game where I have not with like Reapers or the first like 4 Hellions, but like if I have 6 Hellions and then they drop once or twice. Yeah, that's what I have the most issue with.
Yeah. So
but at that time you don't have like the rally hotkeys and stuff because you barely have any units, you know.
Yeah. So okay, if it's like the first pressure that the Terran does, where it's like the first big harass at like maybe like 5 minutes or something.
Yeah, because I'm still droning and stuff, and I have some units and I got the queens, but it's like,
okay,
you know, you gotta.
Here's what I want you to do then. I want you to work on scouting with your overlords. I want you to be very active with those. Like the other game we just talked about, where you could have seen, does he have a reactored Hellion now, or is it still a barracks? And if you would have scouted right away, you could have seen the second starport being built right away. But your scout waited until the second starport was now building a tech lab. So it wasn't even during the starport being built. It was while the tech lab was started. And that was like a good 30 seconds or so where You didn't know if he was still going to go Marines or not, or if he's going to go Hellions. I would
Okay.
work on the scouting a little bit to identify what you're up against a little bit faster, and then also if you're going to go for a queen heavy style, that's something else I would recommend, what you're already doing against like harass based builds. And what you should do is you should do proper creep team replacement, and this is how you should do it. Okay.
Like at the very edge.
Yeah. First tumor, is try to connect your natural to your third base, or
Okay.
you have two ways to do it with the first tumor. Either natural to third, you always spread it towards your third, or put your first tumor in the back of your main at the edge of your cliff, and then spread it towards your natural. So you cover all your main, and then you cover all your natural to your
Gotcha.
third.
Yeah, I like spread my main too, but I usually do it a little later. I try to do the first one.
Yeah, but if whatever one you do, make sure you do the other one second. You can do either one you want first, but the other one has to be second. Because if you don't do, let's say you neglect the main base and you do your first 3 tumors to your third and then out to the ramp and then to the other way at your fourth base, and you're spreading it in a big nice wave out in front of your base, and at 5 minutes the guy drops you in your blind spot in your main base, and then now you have 4 Hellions roast all your drones in your main. It's very realistic to happen if you don't have any coverage in your main, like if an Overlord gets killed by a Viking or something.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
So yeah, so I got everything you're saying. So at the beginning, sack the first Overlord. You don't have to lose it, but you throw it in there. Then if I don't figure out what he's doing, scout like pretty much right after that, or
yeah, like if you're so you should at the very least see a build like this. Okay, these are standard builds. When your first Overlord gets there, you should see a barracks and a command center if he's playing standard. Because he's going to make a Reaper, he's going to defend the command center, or he's going to scout you and poke you with the Reaper. If he thinks that you're not all-inning him.
yeah.
So that's standard as fuck. And then this will turn into 1-1-1. It'll turn into 2-1-1. It'll turn into 1-2, which is double factory openers. Things like that. And then your first Overlord can stay there long enough to figure out if he's doing something. And if it can't, because he's making Marines, that tells you something. As in, like, is he going to make barracks, and is he going to make a Marine now, and is he making a command center? Like, the command, if you can see the command center, if you don't see the command center, that's a huge deal. Because if you don't see the command center, you can your Overlord's getting shoved away by Marines. That definitely is, like, more emphasis now for you to be like, second Overlord, get in there quicker. Like, just beeline it, right for the fucking base, and let's go. Yeah. If you see a command center, though, that's when our second Overlord should be more like, let's skirt the edge, and let's just see the edge of, like, is he making a starport now? Is he making this or that? Is he making a reactor on this? And you can kind of identify what's happening. And if it is a fast factory, okay? And the way the factory is lined up is the factory should already be started before the add-on is even built on the barracks. So what will happen is like, let's say it's a reactor, okay? If a reactor in a barracks is going to be finishing around the same time as the factory itself is finishing, that tells you it's a factory opener. So you probably want to focus on a Roach Warren. But let's say the factory is started with the add-on on the barracks is like already pretty much done. That tells you it's going to be a bio opener, and you're probably going to have to deal with pressure of like medevacs, of bio, of pushes with bio, like stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that's how you can kind of identify the differences. And if you fight against bio, it's not bad to skip the Roach Warren and just make a Baneling Nest like you did the other game. And if you fight against a fast factory opener, it's kind of required to make a Roach Warren, or otherwise it's kind of scary.
Okay. Makes sense. And then I should scout again, maybe with an Overseer when I get later?
Yeah, that's fine. Because if you scout again with the Overseer, that's when you're going to find out, is he truly going bio or mech? Because by that point, he'll have to have made his decision now. Early on, when he goes 1-1-1, 1-2, 1-2, 2-1-1, things like that, that does not guarantee he's going to go bio or mech.
Okay.
2-1-1 is the most likely one to make it seem like he's going to go bio, but there are some Terrans that actually go 2-1-1, and then they go fucking mech out of it. It's weird. But yeah, once the Overseer comes, that's like 5-6 minutes. He'll definitely be choosing what he's doing at that point.
Okay. And then have Lings as third and fourth, something like that.
And then just try your best to spread your Overlords after your first 3. So your first one and your second one should always go to his base to scout him. Your second one...
third one outside my natural, probably, and then like on the outside of where my fourth and fifth would be, or something.
So we kind of skipped over this, but I'm just going to do Overlord placement for you. You're kind of right on it, but just to make sure we're on the same page with all of it. First one, always immediately go to his base. You want to see as quick as possible, like you talked about, his ramp, his natural, things like that. Second Overlord, chill at your natural until your natural is like 80% of the way done, or like 90% of the way done. This way you don't get surprised by like a proxy bunker all in, or a cannon rush. It works the same way for, and also like a 12 pool, if he runs around the map. For every race you do this, and then you send your second Overlord to his base as well. Against Zerg, obviously you'd send it like out in the open, but against Terran and Protoss, you send it to the edge of the other side of their base. And then your third Overlord should replace the front of your natural, kinda, like out on a cliff or something, out in front of where your base is. And then Overlords 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever. Every Overlord after that, open airspace around your base. And then spread it further out as you go. And depending on what you see with your first 2 Overlords, if it's a standard build, if it's a mass air build, whatever. If it's anything that's not going to kill your Overlords, like it's not a really fast Viking build, or it's not a really fast Phoenix build, or a really fast Mutas, you continuously spread your Overlords on the side of the map. And this will give you so much more vision of what could happen with things your creep can't cover. But if you do scout with your first Overlords, oh shit, he's going for fast air and it's going to poke my Overlords, pull him back. Just pull your Overlords back and just then focus your creep. Make sure your creep, if you know it's going to be an air build, put your creep tumors on the edge of the cliff of your cliffs. So if you look at your main in the bottom right and you see that like protruding cliff, always spread tumors on the edges of those little like peninsulas, basically.
Okay.
And then you'll have because the creep tumor itself gives vision, not the creep. So you'd have the biggest vision possible, seeing where his units are.
Gotcha. Like I didn't know that.
Yeah. So because like you can see your main right now, like there's little shadows on the right side of your hatchery, where the edge of the creep is. It's because creep doesn't give vision.
Oh. Fair enough.
Yeah. So just do that, and then you'll be good to go. And then the faster you spread your creep, the easier it will be to defend pressure builds. So work on. I would say your creep is one of your biggest weaknesses here. Just you do it a little bit, but then you kind of neglect it sometimes. So just try to make it always a priority.
Okay. This game I win, but the macro's not as good.
Yeah, it's all good. There'll always be like ups and downs, but I feel like last game was a great example of showing what you're capable of doing, and you're definitely capable of macroing pretty well. You're definitely capable of macroing enough to be promoted. And then this kind of isn't really focused on this game. It's just in general. One of the big things you need to work on too, once you get like the creep down, all your scouting down, all that stuff, would be your attack patterns, like your use of your units. Because I would say the best thing I saw you do last game with your attack is you denied a 3rd CC, which was great. But other than that, your units were chilling a lot of the time, which you could definitely make more use of if you're gonna go Lingbane.
Got you.
Lingbane's all about multi-prong, harass, stuff like that, if you want to make the most of it. So this one's risky again. You skipped Lings. Yeah, it's fortunate that the Reaper chose to back up. Your Lings are out now. You have 2 Lings out now, but you made like a big ass round of drones before them. So you would have had to do that whole spore crawler gas trick again.
And it wouldn't have been worth it.
Yeah, definitely. If you even have to lose mining time to build 1 spore, it's already not worth it to have skipped 1 Ling.
Got you.
Because you're not only taking the cost of what you have to cancel, but you're also losing the seconds of mining time. Yeah. Roach Warren this time, or this game, paced not bad. You're starting the Roach Warren as he's starting production on the Hellions. That's totally fine. Your Ling count
is low. Yeah, I didn't make them with the speed.
Like right as your speed finishes is when you want to have the 12. Like that's perfectly timed, as if they both finish at the same time.
Yeah.
Because right now, if you would have sent those first 4 Hellions, because the way it kind of lines up is the way it works so well is the Hellions, the 4 Hellions will show up at your base and drive right into your natural or whatever, right as speed finishes with a standard timing. So if you have the Lings finishing at that time, you can easily always shut it down. And
not making roaches like I did.
No, roaches now are okay, but you have 6. It's actually okay. You have 6. 6 is acceptable because you have roaches when he has 6 or more. That's totally fine. You timed the Roach Warren better this game. Last time you made the Roach Warren, when I was talking about it, you made it before you even made the 3rd. So it was way too early. I can see what you're talking about with the multi-prong, but if we look at this really fast, because like that Liberator could have just fucked you up really bad there. But But if we look at like your airspace, look at the bottom of the map and look at the top of the map. Like you have no coverage.
I don't have any. Yeah.
So Overlord placement will definitely help you out a lot. And then if we look at your scouting that we just talked about,
I've actually seen everything.
Yeah. So you could have seen that he has there's a possibility of a Viking here because you did see he made a starport and he was actually making a reactor on the starport. So what you can do now is, if you're worried about multi-prong and you're also worried about the fact that if you, the way I just said a second ago, where I'm like, oh, put your overlords back if you mix overlords or Phoenix or whatever. If you're really worried about it, the creep timber thing I told you was great. Is a great way to deal with it as well. But you can also leave just like one overlord, kind of like in that big open air space that you cannot see at all, until your creep can replace it. So if you lose one overlord, it's not a big deal. But now you're still also a lot safer to the potential of, am I going to get dropped by a bunch of Hellions? Is there a Liberator going to fly into my base? And losing the one overlord is going to just be a lot less impact than losing 15 drones.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So I did the spores in the back again.
Against the Liberator, I don't mind it. It's not really required, but I don't mind that you did that against the Liberator opener.
So I probably shouldn't do spores at all, right?
Against Liberator, if it's like this, you don't even need spores at all. Also, that move out was not good. Don't ever attack with your roaches, especially if you're not going to all in him, because what you just did there is you just opened him up to harass you again with Hellions. Because now you should have a worry now that if you just make drones and he drives in with like 6 or 8 Hellions, you're about to lose an entire mineral line. Or you would. I
took the gases a little early too.
Yeah. With the way you're playing it is honestly you're kind of taking your economy like a Ling Hydra Bane style. Like you'd want to have a fast Hydra Den and be going for like really heavy amounts of Ling Hydra Bane. But if you're going Ling Bane, just mass Ling Bane, you're gonna always have too much gas. Your macro.
I couldn't remember when I was supposed to take all the gases or not, but now I know. So
yeah, that's good. And your macro hatch, like your macro is all right. Your macro hatch timing is good. The Ling Bane style, the fact that you have 2,000 minerals, I don't think it's that big of a deal because this style produces money so fast and it's hard to spend it until the macro hatches are up and running. So biggest thing I would say is your macro hatches might be a tad bit late with how your money is going, or your injects might be a tad bit delayed. Otherwise, you're gonna spend your money is gonna go down really fast now, and you're going to spend it as soon as these injects start kicking in.
So when should I take a 5th base then?
You should take a 5th base when your main base starts running out. Like as soon as you can afford it, basically.
So that was fine then.
Yeah, like your 5th base timing is totally fine because you just don't want to have drones excess on your main or your natural by the time you take a 5th, because you're not going to be making drones for every base and every base. You're not going to go up to like 140 drones, obviously. But you also don't want to have drones being inefficiently mining. So you'd pace it to where like when you start mining out your bases, you want to definitely have another one ready to go.
Was the creep spread better this game?
It's a bit better. It's still not great though. Your creep spread could be stronger. I feel like if you were to like look at the replay and you were to watch it and you just like click on a creep timber every time, you're gonna probably see a lot of times, like sometimes you'll probably get it really early, but there will be some periods of the game where you'll be like, wow, I didn't spread creep for like 40 seconds there when I could have.
Yeah. How far should it be at like 10 minutes?
Probably to the edge of his Zelnaga. If you do not get disrupted at all, and you're going for an opener where you have like 4 creep queens or like 3 creep queens, yeah, the edge of his Zelnaga on his side, and it would also be to like near the rocks on his other 3rd potential base. And then you'd also have the top. If we look at like the corners of the map, you would have where that marine is in top left. That would all be covered, and you would have it like to the edge of the cliff and to the right of that. And then on the bottom right, you would have probably creep getting ready to go up the ramp, kind of where your overlord is, or like already up on the high ground. Otherwise, it's not bad. Like your creep is not shit, obviously, but it could be a little better.
Yeah. Am I making too many Banes?
No, not really. You want to have about a third of your army to be Banes, so that's actually perfect. You have 80 Lings and 40 Banes. Because the style, you want to have heavy amounts of Banes, because you need splash. If you actually get to a point where you run out of Banes and you're fighting against a bunch of Marines and a bunch of medevacs, because you have no way to kill the medevacs right now, you'll lose.
Yeah.
So you need enough Banes to make sure you take losses while you engage, and then you cripple the... You can blow up all the bio through the medevac healing, because you burst it out. So it's important.
Through this... Oh, sorry.
No, I was done. I was kind of reiterating what I said like 3 times.
Should I be, while I'm like macroing and stuff, just sending like little pockets of langs, like to thirds and fourths?
Yeah, that's what I was
just to run by.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about with like you're not really doing the build as well as you should be with multi-prong, which is something that I don't think is your biggest concern now, but it will eventually become a concern for you once you get to like masters or getting closer to masters. With the perfect way to do, like if I back it up really fast and go to right here, right before you attack, a perfect way to do this would be, let's just say you have take your army and cut it in half. Okay, we cut the army in half and we put half of it on the bottom and half of it on the top. Because right now, if we look at your vision, we don't actually know he has a 4th base here. So your goal, like a better way to do this attack, and you also don't know he has another 3rd base. So if we were to scout a little bit with like a ling or 2 here or there, and be like, okay, he has a base, and we see that, which you're just kind of engaging, which is it's fine. But if we had the idea here where we're gonna poke both bases at once in case he might have either one, what could happen is if we have half on the top, half on the bottom. One of those is going to guarantee to meet a base, because it's most likely he has a 3rd by now, which is it's going to fight the 3rd then. But then the other army, and let's just say hypothetically he does not have a 4th base. The other one could then just go all the way to the natural, bust the wall, and go into the natural, and then some of it, you could green box it really fast, and even grab some of it and then send it into the main base.
Okay.
And then be like, let's hit everything. Let's just smack it all. And then while you're doing it, while you're looking at it, you'd want to take a second and just grab your hat-trick hotkey and slam a new round of units. Like, just make new units. And the perfect time to inject as well would be right before you launch the entire attack. You want to take a second right before you attack to make sure all your queens have spent, so you're not... like. And
Q injects if you have enough. I don't think I have enough to Q on any of them. But...
Yeah, your injects are looking pretty good. But I'm just saying in general, like, you don't want to attacking be like, just inject really fast. Because it's like, oh, I'll look back and my army's dead. But yeah, like splitting up your army more is definitely more powerful than coming in from one angle at a time.
Yeah, because if you had like 10 Widow Mines and like 5 tanks over here, everything would probably be dead.
Yeah, and then let's say the other base was really undefended. You just missed an opportunity then too that he might fix later.
Yeah, because I could have killed all those SCVs.
Yeah, exactly. If you would have blown up the wall down there, exactly like you said, all the SCVs would die, and then you would still have plenty to overpower the shit on the top. It's 1 tank and 1 Widow Mine. And then the bio force is so tiny as well. And then this army, if it completely overwhelms and swarms, you could then move it forward to blow up the depots of the natural and go into the natural too. Like like a lot of shit's gonna die at this point if you multi-prong. It's just more damage spread out. There's so many SCVs too at his 3rd base. It's 35 there. And then we look at your production really fast. You are macroing during this, which is great. That's how you have to play this style. Is you 100% have to make units during combat. Otherwise, if you if you don't, obviously you're gonna open yourself up to major counterattacks. And then you got attacked by the bioforce here on the bottom. So I'm gonna try and give you a mindset really fast before we end the coaching lesson here about how to kind of like maximize everything and play it out, which is the biggest reason why I'm telling you your creep spread is weak if you're playing this style.
Just because I would have saw that coming in.
Well, you would have saw it first of all, but you play a lot of this style off the mini map. You don't actually play it off the screen that much. Like you obviously play it off the screen when you're looking at the screen. You're like, I'm gonna engage this part of the map right now, and you want to look at it and be like, what am I fighting into? So you need to look then. But a lot of times you'll actually look at the minimap and you'll be like, oh look, there's red dots coming, and you can take a quick glance at them to see what they are. But you can also sometimes assume what they are if you're playing against, because of the context of the game. If you're playing against a guy who's going for bio drops all game, you can assume that if you see 2 red dots on the bottom of the map, it's 2 medevacs of bio. But in general, you can always look at it too for a brief moment. But you just grab units and you send them to places that you think that are important. Like, you guys go there on the minimap. You guys go there on the minimap. You guys go there on the minimap. And then you can take a moment to fix things if things are going to fall apart. Like, if you think if your units are going to get really stupid and derpy at a wall, you can be like, oh, let's attack the wall and go forward. Okay, let's make sure my units aren't just sitting there doing nothing. Let's recontrol them for just a second. Attack forward. But you don't really have to micro too much in these fights with this kind of a style. It's because it's all about overwhelming him in lots of different ways. It's not about out microing him, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So it's like it's definitely a macro style.
Yeah, and you just make sure you're keeping up on the production, which you're doing a good job at. But then you just play a lot of it again off the minimap, and the creep spread that you have gives you way more, like we just said a second ago, way more ability to control the minimap easier because you see everything. So overlords always cover open airspace, and creep covers everything else. So you would want to, at this point, when you know you're not getting harassed by a Viking or anything like that, you should have like 2 overlords above your 3rd base on the left. You should have 2 overlords in the open airspace below your 4th base next to your main. You should have another 2 overlords in the open airspace to the right of that even more. Like every single part of the map that has open airspace on the sides, have 1 or 2 overlords for a good coverage of all of it, because you can't kill them at that point. Especially once you have mutas too. If you have the ability to make mutas, he's not just going to make a Viking to attack overlords anymore at this point. So yeah, it would help you out a lot being able to see everything. And then if you're playing the game off the minimap, you're going to see everything off the minimap a lot more, because you're already looking at it to be like, let's send you over there, let's send you over there, let's send you over there. It's a lot easier to play like that than it is to like slam your mouse, or like just wave your mouse around the screen and be like, scroll up, go there, scroll down, go there, scroll over, go there. Because it's a lot more clean. It's a lot faster than dragging your mouse everywhere, and it's a lot less impactful on your eyes. Because if you're just watching screens wave around on the main screen, it's a lot more, like way more shit's going into your face all at once, and it's way harder for your peripheral to catch things like, oh, a drop. But if you're chilling and you're just looking at one screen, because it's like your rally point screen, and you're like, go there, go there, go there, go there, and you're looking at the minimap and you're like, oh look, I'm looking at a red dot as well. You don't really have these surprises where you're like, oh shit, I'm being attacked.
I try to pretty much only use camera hotkeys, and because I do them for all my bases.
Yeah.
Like, as many as I have, and then use the minimap as much as I can. I usually don't scroll too much because it's just so slow.
Yeah, exactly. So, because you will get in the stages where like you have to fight and you have to micro a part of a fight, and it is very necessary to do that. And that's time you're probably going to neglect or ignore the minimap a little bit more. But most of the game can be played through the minimap, or with a lot of focus on the minimap here with this style.
Cool.
And it'll help you a lot. Help you out a lot in that situation of dealing with multi-prong and executing multi-prong.
Heck yeah.
All right, man. Do you have any other questions about anything that we kind of briefly went over, or any other thoughts we haven't really covered yet?
No, I don't think so. I think everything went pretty good.
All right, man. Yeah, just I guess focus on that. Creep spread, biggest. Scouting and reacting to certain things is also a big one for you, and overlord placement. And then I feel like you'll have a lot more success with it, because again, dude, your macro is not bad. That's definitely a strong point for you.
Cool. Well, that's good.
All right, dude.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate it too, man. Thank you for buying a coaching lesson, and if we do another one, I look forward to it.
Cool. Are you gonna upload this too?
Yeah, I will. 100%. I actually didn't upload my last one. I gotta go do that. I just realized that today. So I'll be uploading 2 coaching lessons tonight.
Cool. Well, I'll play for another week or 2 or so, and then maybe we'll do another one.
All right, dude. Sounds good.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. Have a good rest of your night.
Yeah, you too. Bye.
See ya.